But no, I think she's got good intentions. All right, here we go. Texas border standoff with feds continues despite U.S. Supreme Court order. This is written by the Texas Tribune. The Texas National Guard and state troopers are still rolling out concertina wire and preventing Border Patrol agents from accessing most of Shelby Park, a 47-acre Eagle Pass park that sits on the bank of the Rio Grande, where thousands of migrants have crossed. I mean, just think about this, like happening by your house. Mm-hmm. Like in Minnesota, it's such a foreign concept to think of thousands of people migrating through that small of an area. Mm-hmm. And that's what's the reality, and that's why they're doing this. Those continued efforts come despite the U.S. Supreme Court earlier this week vacating a lower court's decision that prevented Border Patrol agents from cutting the state's concertina wire to apprehend people who already crossed the river. The Supreme Court's 5-4 order didn't give any reason and didn't explicitly say Border Patrol agents were allowed to access the park or that the state had to remove the concertina wire. So the state has doubled down, and some Republican lawmakers have said Texas should defy the Supreme Court's ruling, which, by the way, from my knowledge, they haven't defied the Supreme Court's ruling. They are putting up more concertina wire, but it didn't say they couldn't, right? Mm-hmm. On Wednesday, Governor Greg Abbott defended his actions, saying Texas has the right to continue doing what it's doing. He added, without providing evidence, that President Biden has been refusing to enforce current immigration laws.
Yeah.
That's the media right there. Right. Well, he didn't provide evidence to the thing that everyone knows is happening.
The next paragraph is the evidence.
Yeah, he's quoted here. President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress, Abbott said. Instead of prosecuting immigrants for the federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers in federal courts to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. He doesn't need evidence. Everyone sees
the proof is out there.
Yeah, the migrants are coming. We know they're coming because the Biden administration has taken away the policy, the Trump-era policy, where supposed asylum seekers have to stay in the country next to ours instead of come in here. So he allows these people to come in here, and then they get basically adjudicated within a 2 to 3 year span. Mm-hmm. So it's like a backdoor into illegal immigration. Mm-hmm. So what is he like? There's no evidence needed here. That is like widely known facts with anyone that's paying attention. But leave it to the media to ignore that and try to. Well, it is a clown show. Napkin 8 says, yeah, it's a clown show. Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's why we do what we do. We expose the corrupt politicians and lying corporate media.
Yeah, and right? Abbott, he's not perfect. It's not like this is some liberty champion. He's kind of establishment in a lot of ways. I appreciate what he's doing because, I mean, how long are you going to just allow open borders to be flooding your own state? At a certain point, you have to take a stand. And I appreciate that this battle is happening because I think it is an important constitutional question of who has the proper authority for border security, and what do you do in the situation where a federal government is abdicating that responsibility? So I think that this is an important question. I appreciate that it's getting through the courts. I mean, I'm not happy that Amy Coney Barrett is siding with these liberals on this because, it's just crazy to me that, I'm not sure what her rationale for that was, but I
no one knows because they didn't tell us.
Yeah. And maybe that was an intentional thing because...
that was just TRO, I guess.
Right.
So, Jesse, I think the thing that solves this is secession.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I'm not a secessionist. At least I'm not there yet, But if our government got to a certain point, maybe. But the way that I look at it, we want to be the global superpower.
What is a certain point it has to get to before you go, wait, I don't want to be part
Here's
of
the thing.
$33 trillion in debt.
Even though Joe Biden sucks, there's all these problems. We're still mostly free in this country. We're able to make this broadcast. We're able to speak our minds.
But you could be more free in the state of Texas.
Could I? I don't know. It's not like Abbott. Like I said, it's not like he's a freedom warrior. I'm not sure I would believe that. Maybe in certain regards there's more freedom on gun rights or maybe something else. But, the way I see it is we are in a global battle between us, China, and a little bit Russia of who wants to be the superpower of the world. If we allow secession, if we allow our country to become divided, if we decide to split off...
Wait, what do you mean by we allow?
If we, the American people...
Because we were having this discussion in the pre-show, and I'm like, let's save it for the show. But you're talking so nationalistically here. It's like the state, this is a great book, Compact of the Republic, written by David Benner, a good friend of mine. It's really a voluntary association of states. That's our founding, right? We're in many ways like Europe, and the European Union, in the sense that you do have a general government that does certain limited stuff, and there are still sovereign countries. I mean, states are just countries, right? We call them states. They do have their own flags. They do have distinct features. They have their own republic government. They don't, they for lack of better terms, are countries. And because they are sovereign and because they voluntarily joined the compact of states, they should be able to voluntarily leave when the national entity or the union of the states is no longer pursuing constitutional means or the basic functions like protecting the border. Like, where am I wrong on that? And by the way, Texas has got such a booming economy. They can literally secede.
I told you before they'd be Germany. Would they be an okay country? Sure, they'd have an economy, but they're supposed. Are we supposed to believe that Texas is going to be the United States' ally in that situation? It's only going to cause problems, and I don't necessarily want to see a battle between the government killing the people, and I don't want to see that civil war unfolding. And we're screwed forever electorally if we get rid of Texas. We're never going to win another presidential election again, so we'll be completely screwed on that front.
That's very true.
And
but if you're
I am a nationalist.
You're a Texan, you're looking independently of that,
right? But I am a nationalist in a lot of ways, more than I am a statist in some ways, because I believe that we are stronger together as a country. And I do not want China to become the superpower of the world. If China becomes the superpower of the world, we're going to see the complete decline of freedom worldwide. We're not perfect, and especially with the things we do overseas, with being the police state of the world. But I would still 100% take that any day over China as our world leader.
Yeah, but I don't think those are your two options. By the way, I'd love to hear what you guys think at home. I don't understand that. Like, I think you're just bringing up.
There can only be one. There can only be one superpower.
They're literally, but so what does a superpower mean? I mean, we're $33 trillion in the hole. We have a failed foreign policy, and it's not just Biden, although it's really bad under Biden. Texas could do their own thing, and they should do their own thing if the general government. First of all, the federal government shouldn't even exist to the degree it is right now. It's a 180-degree difference than what the Constitution even allowed it to be. And it's a broken system. It's bankrupt. It's hurting. It's actually hurting us being part of the United States of America, right? I love what the United States of America represents, but from a liberty standpoint and an individual rights standpoint, it seems better at this point to be apart from that union, which you could still trade. You could still come up with clear alliances on defense, right? So,
no, I mean,
why couldn't you?
Because if you secede from our country, we're not giving you shit. That's if Texas secedes. Why would they would not be our friend?
We have NATO. NATO's a joint alliance. Why wouldn't Texas have a joint alliance in defense with the rest of the states? Why wouldn't they do that?
I mean,
we're like literally we have this with Ukraine. You say we would
have
I'm defense with Ukraine, but we wouldn't do it with Texas.
But I'm not for NATO. I don't think you are either. I don't think either of us think that it's reasonable for NATO to continue to exist.
Right, but I do believe that we could do this with Texas.
If they secede, they're not our ally. That's the biggest problem.
I think they're our ally. I think they're making a smart, conscious decision,
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I don't plan to move to Texas, so I generally don't want this to happen because you're right, the electoral map sucks for us then.
Yeah.
That's an enormous amount of electoral votes gone.
Mm-hmm.
But from a position of a Texan, which they have a very rugged individualist streak,
mm-hmm.
it actually makes a ton of sense. And this is
to me, I just look at it more in like a perspective that it's not even if we had secession in this country.
So what is the ultimate solution? Are you wanting to weigh in here too, Dawson? Well, let me pose this question. What is the ultimate solution if the federal government continues to usurp their powers, usurp their responsibilities, and they act unconstitutionally, and they go against individual rights and states' rights, and the Supreme Court backs them on these things? What do you think is the solution here? I mean, is it just completely ignoring the federal government? At some point, doesn't it kind of lead to secession?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not 100% sure because, we could make the argument that why didn't we all secede during vaccine mandates? But to me, the reason I'm against it is because I still believe in the picture of America. I still believe.
Oh, I do too.
You know, I still believe in our Constitution. I still believe that our nation is stronger together. Even though there's so many problems.
I do too, Jesse. I'm just saying the problem with the Constitution is it doesn't protrude fangs and bite its aggressors. So if the politicians that are in the care of the Constitution and supposed to do what's constitutional don't do it, well, something's got to happen. And, you know, it seems these days, well, Carrie Lake, right? You get a good candidate to run for U.S. Senate, which, by the way, would only be one of 100, and they'll threaten and try to remove her or try to buy her off, right? So it's almost like you're not going to solve it by just sending a new senator there, although I would definitely advocate for sending better representatives and senators out there. But the states seem to be the solution here. I mean, listen, I'm having some fun with you, Jesse, because no one knows right here. This is why people are talking about it. It's clearly a big issue. And Texas is doing something that seems today to be unprecedented. In the history of the United States, it's not unprecedented. There's a lot of times where states started acting up to the federal government, and it happened right away at the onset of this country. Dawson, you look like you want to speak. What do you got?
I'm trying to think of the answer to the question, what if the government keeps on doing these things? Isn't the ultimate answer seceding? To secede, is it a vote in the legislature of a state?
Well, you certainly hope they do that. Don't do the main thing and just the Secretary of State decides unilaterally.
Well, and that's the problem. You know, there's not like a procedural outline of it, you know, because the only way that secession was tried before was through the Civil War. Besides that, you know, it's not like there's a complete process where, you know, it has to work its way through the State House, State Senate, then citizen approval, and then federal government approval. I mean, in that situation, if the feds and Texas agreed to it, then I'm sure it would just happen. But of course, that would never happen.
Yeah, it seems like it would be in Texas, you still have some people who would agree with like different blue states or something like that. So if Texas were to secede, just like one day they're like, we're done. That's like, then aren't they the massive immigrant issue where it's like all these people are fleeing Texas and all these people are coming into Texas because they're like, I want out of here, I want into here. It's like, then they're going to have a border crisis on literally every border that they have.
Yeah, because you're right. You know, it's like probably only 55 to 60% of Texas votes Republican. So, you know, that means that there's, you know, about 40% or so that 45% that are, you know, that are with Joe Biden. So, yeah,
well,
it shows that.
But when you break it down, would they really be with what does that even mean with Joe Biden?
Right. I guess I just mean voting for him and the people that are dumb and blind and vote for, you know, blue no matter who.
But they can always move. I mean, essentially in the system that we already have, there was a mass migration of people during COVID.
Can they always move, though?
What's that?
Can they always move? Because if Texas secedes, then, we're like, you're a Texas immigrant, like, we'll let you in, but then the people from the U.S. that want to go to Texas.
I never thought of that. Like, what does that mean in the end?
What is that kind of border control going to be when it's between Texas and whatever?
Well, see, that's where I would advocate that we set up something similar to Europe, where we do have the ability for people to go across borders. I mean, they wouldn't be citizens, but they can go across borders, and we can do it peacefully. Right?
Peacefully.
That's what I want to see. Peacefully. What does everyone say at home here?
Peacefully with a state that just seceded from the.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be that way. That's my point. It could be done peacefully.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the Civil War, is it wasn't done peacefully. Nikki Haley really screwed that one up when she answered it. But obviously slavery a massive component of it, so bad reasons. But then Abraham Lincoln marches the northern armies into southern towns. That's not a peaceful solution, right?